All right, so we are 5 minutes into the call, so I think we can start. So thank you everybody for joining in. We have a pretty exciting lightning talk in store for us today. We have Claus joining us, who is the CEO of DigiShares, which is a leading platform for RWA tokenization and for providing white label solutions as well around tokenization of real world assets. So Claus has a lightning talk prepared for us. The format is going to be the same as we have with other lightning talks. We're going to start off with a presentation by Claus, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A, where other obviously folks from this call can also join in. So with that, Claus, over to you, if you could share a bit more about yourself, DigiShares, and we'd love to learn more about what you have to present today.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here. I hope that you can hear me and see the screen presentation that I'm sharing. My name is Claus, and I'm the CEO of DigiShares. I've been in that position for the last 7 or 8 years. Long time in the blockchain industry, but we also started very early in the tokenization area, I would say, and took a couple of years to develop the platform and then launched it maybe 5-6 years ago, and slowly grew from that point forward. So today we have around 250 clients globally in more than 40 countries. We are number 1 or 2, I think, in terms of number of clients. My background is that I have a PhD in computer science with a specialty in AI, actually, but I haven't used the AI part that much. I got into blockchain instead around 10 years ago, I think, and then we slowly figured out that we wanted to focus on tokenization of securities, really. So how to represent securities, shares, bonds, profit share, debt instruments, and so on as a token on the blockchain, and how to build technology around that, basically. That was quite interesting to us, and we thought that it could become quite a large business potentially. And I think that the last few years have given us, have agreed with us on that point, right? So now all the large financial services firms project a bright future for tokenization, and in fact that it'll become the infrastructure of the entire financial system. So we are a software provider, software company, pure tech provider. We provide a white label tokenization platform to tokenize any kind of asset, basically, and any kind of security in relation to that asset. So it's both to use for real estate, that's maybe 80% of our clients, but also for funds, energy projects, mining projects, crowdfunding, and many other types of assets. But real estate really is the biggest asset class. In addition to this, we also run an exchange. We operate an exchange called RealEstate.Exchange in the US, and we are planning to set it up in the GCC region as well, looking for the right place and for the right strategic partners to launch it, because it's a costly and complicated exercise. So as mentioned, we focus on real estate, or we don't focus on real estate, but most of our clients focus on real estate. It's maybe 80%. It is a huge asset class, right? It's $326.5 trillion, and it's almost totally illiquid. Very little, very small amount of real estate is tradable and liquid to any degree. It's maybe 5%. It's also almost totally inaccessible to retail investors, right? So it's highly sort of disrupt. It's highly prepared for disruption, highly ready for disruption. Tokenization is actually totally the right tool to apply to disrupt real estate, right? Because it allows you to fractionalize. It allows you to make any kind of asset more liquid in different ways. So hopefully we can make real estate into a more attractive asset class by making it liquid and making it more accessible by opening it up to the retail investors. Right? That in itself will allow real estate as an asset class to grow even further, because it becomes worth more. it becomes more attractive to investors. So it should attract more funding globally. And of course, that's one of the benefits of tokenization. Tokenization, I think I expect most people here on the call to know what it is and to have a pretty good idea about it. I will not go in detail, but of course it is about digitizing, modernizing, and automating workflows. So you get a lot of functionality around security transactions, real estate transactions, and so on that you can now suddenly implement outside existing financial infrastructure, right? So you can have software companies like us completely developing platforms where you can transact, you can invest, you can trade, you can pay out dividends, you can do everything outside the financial industry, financial ecosystem. And that, of course, that in itself means that you'll get a lot more innovation, you'll get a lot more price pressure, right? So it'll become cheaper, you'll get a lot more efficiency. So that's being provided by the blockchain technology that giving us those powers sort of to lift that functionality out of the banks and out of the exchanges and make it democratized, right? Make it available for everyone at a reduced price and a greater usability and efficiency. So that's sort of the idea, right? You can reduce cost, you can allow much more control and functionality to be in the hands of the asset owner and the investors. You can automate everything to a great degree, right? So the investment process, the purchasing process, dividends, trading, and so on can be fully automated with no human interaction by the administrator, the asset owner. So you can actually scale up your investor base. You can have 1,000 investors as easily as you have 10, allowing you to fractionalize and target retail investors at a reasonable cost of administration. You can make it liquid. Liquidity is a very important topic in the tokenization industry at the moment, with new ways of making assets liquid coming forward. Of course, you have the old way of listing it on a secondary exchange. That's possible through our own exchange and other exchanges. But you can also create liquidity in other ways. So our white label platform has a marketplace where you can have liquidity within an asset that has been tokenized among the existing investors. You can have trading optionality at least within it. Then you can allow for redemptions and so on. So the asset owner can trade against their own investors. And then you can make it possible to use tokenized real estate as collateral for a loan. This is something that we have great expectations for, and in fact, it will create a massive increased capital efficiency for the real estate asset class in itself, and I think it'll be hugely important over the next few years. So instead of going to the bank as an asset owner, you can put your tokens out on the DeFi ecosystem, right, and pull a loan extremely fast and extremely efficient from crypto investors and large market makers and so on. And that also will make the real estate asset class worth more. So there's a lot of good things, and we know that the real estate tokenization industry is growing quite fast. The two trends here to the right show the number of people who invest into real estate fractionalized real estate. The lower one is the number of active wallets on the chain. Both are growing. The intersection is tokenization real estate investors. So it is a huge market, as mentioned before. It's projected to go into the trillions over the next few years, and that's easy to argue, I would say, because the New York Stock Exchange is going into tokenization. London Stock Exchange Group is going into it. Nasdaq is going into it. A lot of the big banks are going into it. JP Morgan, BlackRock, and so on. So those large companies bring trillions of assets into the tokenization market. So it's a top-down approach that we see through those guys. But we also see a bottom-up approach through companies like us, where we work with smaller companies and allow them to grow within the tokenization space and benefit from it. So our platform, really briefly, also because I think I'm running out of time, has end-to-end functionality for tokens and investors. It can handle in issuance, investor management, and trading. You can do KYC, electronically signed documents. You can buy and invest using both fiat and crypto. You can have API access to anything in the system, so you can integrate to our systems. You can customize everything so it fits your own requirements. There's an advanced share cap table management functionality, shareholder meetings, corporate actions, dividends, bulletin board marketplace, peer-to-peer settlement with no counterparty risk, and so on. So there's a lot of good functionality developed over the last 7 years basically by public customer demand, customer request. ERC 7943, very briefly, is a new standard that I think will dominate the space over the next few years. It is the first Ethereum standard for security tokens that is totally free, independent, and open source. Other attempts at creating standards before this one has been controlled by single vendors in the ecosystem, trying to dominate and create vendor lock-in. And we don't want that. It's against the blockchain philosophy. It's also not good for creating an open market. We see, so I was asked also to look at what we will see over the next few years. And definitely I see that tokenization will become financial infrastructure. It's very easy to see already now because it's being implemented. It is just a faster, more efficient, more secure, more transparent way of transacting. And you can build and you can innovate on it, create new functionality, and make everything go faster. The regulators really like it, and we see several countries now that are integrating this on a country level for real estate, land registries, and so on, such as we see in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, and several other countries that we are quite close to. Distribution of tokens have been a development area, I would say, for the last few years, but now it's starting to come forward. I would say we are starting to find good solutions. Until now, the approach has really been to start do it bottom up, right? So develop your own investor base through marketing and broker relations, which is a very heavy and time-consuming process. The tokenization space has not really been connected to existing distribution channels, but we're starting to see that now. So banks are opening up their wealth management departments, their customers giving them access to tokenized products. And we just see the existing distribution channels of the existing traditional financial services industry getting increasingly connected into the tokenized space in different ways, right? So wallets are becoming more accessible. So in many cases, you don't even know that it's a wallet you have. It might be a Revolut account or something like that, where you can have tokens. So this is also a no-brainer. I think we will see it 100% connected over the next few years. So it'll become very easy to sell your tokens, at least if they have a good quality, if it's a qualified asset with a good yield. Yeah, I think I will stop here. So just today we announced our raise. It's just a short notice here. I'm not gonna speak more about it. But thank you very much for inviting me here to present. I think I went a little bit over time. I'm happy to take questions.
Claus, thank you so much for that wonderful talk. I'll open it up for questions. Would anyone like to go first? Okay, so if other people don't have questions, Claus, I did have one question. Have you worked with central banks up till now?
Yes, both directly and indirectly. So in many countries, like Saudi, for instance, this is driven at least partly by the central bank. So in many cases, we interact with them either directly or indirectly through clients.
And what's the interest generally? What kind of tokens are they interested in? Sorry, what kind of equities are they interested in getting tokenized?
I think that's maybe not. I don't think well, real estate, I would say generally, but I think they are more interested in this as a market infrastructure. from a market infrastructure point of view. They see it as a way where they can strengthen their infrastructure and maybe take a leap forward and increasingly digitize government transactions wise in different areas, such as for the real estate land registry.
Got it. Yes, Rafa, go ahead.
Thank you, Faizan. A couple of questions. Perhaps can you tell us a little bit more about your go-to-market or focus in terms of, is it the wealth management of banks that are opening, their doors to integrate the technology that provides that opportunity, or do you go directly to certain targets of customers in people who used to be invested in REITs? Now they perhaps want to diversify, have broader access to certain pockets of real estate investment. Can you tell us a bit more about sort of the market dynamics behind the scenes?
Yes. So we are really a B2B2C type company, right? So we target real estate development companies or crowdfunding platform operators, asset owners of different types that want to extend their fundraising capabilities to new types of investors, and also want, I would say, a better management and structuring of the actual facilitation of the deal itself. So we don't really go directly to the end users or the investors, the retail investors, and so on. But of course, we do speak to our clients about how best to approach it. So our go-to-market is really to do stuff like I'm doing now, but generally sort of to be visible and do education and motivation of the market and try to approach especially asset owners of different types. Real estate developers is a huge asset class, right? There are many of those, and they are all interested in having a easier access to investors and to extend the scope of investors and to administrate everything in a faster, more efficient way. And then we sometimes help them to develop a strategy for how they can approach investors directly. So for instance, we work with brokers in different countries, mostly the US, but also other regions that are prepared to take tokenization projects and develop a strategy for how to reach investors and regulated and licensed to do it. We also work with companies that can develop marketing strategies, advertising strategies for how to target tokenized, how to sell tokenized products to investors, and so on. So we try to build an ecosystem around our platform so we can do like an end-to-end offering.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Zahir, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Claus, thanks very much for the great introduction. So I'm probably going to ask maybe more sort of for the sake of education, I guess, more sort of Northwest question. So I've spent quite. So you spoke about developers actually, and that was an interesting use case. While you were speaking about this, answering the last question, is what I was thinking about, because I spent quite a bit of time. I'm based in Dubai. I spent quite a bit of time in real estate development. Raising traditional capital, from the usual sources that you have, and I've always thought of making this, or thought of this being a use case. Of obviously just having tokenized sort of asset, and broader access to fundraising mechanisms. But how have you seen the journey? Because there are quite a few obviously hubs and hotspots of real estate development, Dubai being one of them, and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
What has been holding back developers in taking this more broadly? It has started coming here, but there's only one provider on the on the consumer or investor end, sort of retail end, if you will, which is right now also just putting ready assets on the market. But I haven't seen anything on the developers end, which is all you think about today is pre-sales or maybe private credit. Those are probably more advanced things.
Yeah.
But nothing on the tokenized front. So that's number one. Number two is a bit more around more real estate heavy but specialized operating assets. So what's happening in hospitality, what's happening in maybe education. Maybe I've spent a lot of time in education assets building K-12 schools. So I know that's like super heavy investments. But it's a great use case, right? So similarly, maybe healthcare, hospitals. So would love to sort of hear more about your work in all of these spaces.
Yeah, good questions. We're actually extremely active in Dubai. We have at least 10 or 15 clients, and almost all the companies that have a license to operate, they use our platform actually in the backend. So we're quite familiar with the market, and it's correct that they haven't done much tokenization yet, but I know that several are coming on the market and are getting quite good assets ready for tokenization. So I think the process has been held back a little bit by the regulator and the land department and so on to make sure that everyone was fully compliant and with very low risk and so on, also to protect the reputation of the country and avoid any issues, right? But it's coming now, and I think that the infrastructure is ready, and the companies that are doing this are really qualified and have a license, right? And they are paid to get the license, and they have they have to follow a lot of guidelines and restrictions and processes and so on in order to put these tokenized products on the market. So it's really highly qualified. So that's why it's been taking a bit of time, and I think we're coming through that now. And we see the same in other surrounding countries. But it's coming, and I think that especially what we have been lacking is access to the distribution channels, so good ideas for how to distribute the products. But I think some of the companies that are working in the tokenization space now are making good deals, right? So they are working, they are approaching banks and other companies with large user groups, right? So it could also be like a telco. So basically companies with a lot of users, right, who can see a profit or value in offering these tokenized products to their users, are increasingly contacted and approached and convinced to open up their user group. And in many cases, it coincides with these groups of users getting wallets offered by their host, right, the company that they work with, or they have an account with. So then it's really a good business proposition, I would say, for the tokenized issuer to work with these companies, because they need to offer good tokenized products to their investors and to their user base, right? So it's a good value proposition, a win-win generally. And I think we will see this accelerate over the next few years. So that's hopefully an answer for question one.
Right.
Question two was more about specific types of real estate. I don't think we see a clear trend, I have to say. The market has really supported mostly smaller assets, right? Maybe up to $5 million US, but it's starting to increase in size now. I would say some of our clients who have been very successful tokenizing smaller properties are now scaling up to take holiday resorts and larger properties because they have developed the investor base that is required. So I can say that at least, and I can say also that we see that assets that naturally have some kind of community around them are much easier to sell, right? So a holiday resort where you already have a customer base you can sell into, or some kind of product where you have a natural group of people to sell it into, right, are easier to approach. Yeah. long answers. I hope it helps.
Yeah. No, really helpful context and great information. Appreciate that. I think, I mean, I could probably take into a much longer conversation, but I thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll probably have a
me too.
different session.
Yeah, another
We'd
day.
love to,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, thank you.
Happy to assist and set up a follow-up call between the two of you as well, if you'd like at
Sure.
any point, Zaid and Claus, by the way.
That'd be great, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do.
Thank you.
Mark that as an action item for us. All right, so anybody else has any questions?
Nobody has a question. Go ahead.
Rafa, please go ahead. I think mine was more or less answered, but I just wanted to,
Yeah.
So I'll give you the mic then.
No, please, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, I mean, we've been talking about, real estate as being one of the asset classes that seems to be what, most of the governments are going for. Do you think that, gold is maybe another one as well, especially given, how things have been economically? I was just wondering if you see any certain shift with regards to which asset classes are coming more on the radar for the governments.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for commodities right now, and it's gold, it's minerals, it is projects, I would say, so activities, mines, and so on, mining activities, but it's also goods of different types. But gold is really hot right now, and we get a lot of requests. But it's a different asset class, right? So generally, it can be tokenized as not as a security, but more as an asset reference token, which is a category also in Dubai, under the Dubai regulation, UAE regulation. We support it also, so we can run such a project also. So we do see it quite interesting, quite attractive right now.
Do you think that sorry, actually, Rafa had a question. Rafael.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
It was just a follow-up thought on Varda's question, but please go ahead with your question.
If it's a follow-up, you can go ahead. Mine was more like regulations but please go.
That's an important one, so I think we'll just go ahead with yours. I think learning more about the
This is a funny call. I apologize.
No, please.
So my question is, perhaps what are your thoughts around exactly regulations and perhaps tokenization being seen as a potential competition from the incumbents themselves, right? The Wall Streets of the world, and how important that can be, in times where the real asset actually lives somewhere else. It's not on chain. And can you give us like your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I don't think the traditional financial industry really see it as competition. I think they see it as a potential future infrastructure that they need to be aware of, and when the time is right, they will start using it. I think that's increasingly how they view it. I think maybe a few years ago they would see it as a competing technology, but it really isn't, right? The technology is accessible to everyone, right? It's like the internet. Anyone can use it and implement it and start working with it. They don't have to buy our system, right? They can develop it on their own or work with many other companies out there. So it's of course it's free and open for anyone to use, and it's very inexpensive, and it's generally very accessible. So hopefully they will not see it as competition, and a lot of them are already doing a lot of operations on blockchain technology. So it's for sure coming. There's been a schism, I would say, between permission chains and non-permission chains, with of course a lot of the big financial companies preferring to run on permission chains to have more control. But I think that's also going away. I think they started to realize that it's not gonna give them the full benefit, the full value if they lock themselves into a smaller subsection of the blockchain, right? It's like having a private part of the internet and using it for yourself and your clients. I don't think that's going to be useful longer term.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thought. Like, this is exactly what I was trying to vet, that they see it as an opportunity, and perhaps the way they're doing is still sort of limited in a sense, right? They want to carve out like a walled garden is still like sort of a gap in understanding of that potential opportunity that doesn't necessarily competes with what already is, right? It's more like an evolution.
Yeah, I forgot the other part of the question.
So
Can you
perhaps
repeat?
the guarantees that the regulations provide for assets, because you mentioned that this is
Yeah,
something very important for perhaps
yeah, I remember now.
governments. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of it was about custody, right? So you have regulated custodians who are skilled and licensed to keep safe custody of digital assets, I would say, but also of physical assets such as gold and so on. Of course, you need to keep it in safe custody. You cannot move it around. You have to you tokenize it, and of course you will tokenize some kind of ownership certificate, and then have it in safe custody. So that's very well developed, I would say, for the tokenization space. And in fact, we see specialized providers coming out now who sort of completely digitize and automate that entire process, as well as the appreciation, right, and all the activities that are seen in connection to custody are getting digitized and automated as well, right? So that's another innovation and a way to have increased efficiency and transparency and much lower cost for the world, for the ecosystem, financial ecosystem.
Can you perhaps, if you're not against it, like name a few of these providers that you are familiar with and perhaps work with?
Yeah, there's BitGo, there's Copper in the UK. Coinbase has a custody department. There's a number of them, and I'm not so familiar with them because it's more our development team who works with them. But there are many of them out there. They are normally quite expensive to work with, but if you have of course, a high stakes business, then you need to do it. And in many cases, you are forced to do it. So in the UAE, you can have you can be required to work with a custodian to get your license. There's a well-known custodian in the UAE called Hash something. I forgot the name. Maybe someone here will know it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Right, we are a bit over time, but if anybody has any questions, we can, I think, take one last question perhaps.
Yeah, I have a question. So like, let's suppose if a normal person buys small tokenized share of real estate, what do you think they emotionally care about most? Like, is it ownership, liquidity, income, or just, trusting that everything is legally protected?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I think, of course, it varies, right? And it's probably a combination. But I think that what we have seen, tokenization is really about liquidity and fractionalization. Even the large private equity firms that go into tokenization want to fractionalize, right? So they have funds where the normal investment ticket size is 5 million. So now people can put in 100,000 instead, and that's fractionalization for them. So the investors care about, I think, being able to diversify, invest smaller amounts so they can diversify more into different types of securities and funds. I think that's a big desire, but also having the ability to invest at all, I think, is a great motivation, right? So a large part of the world is unbanked, but now they can just get a wallet on their phone and they can invest 100 or even $10 or euros into some kind of asset, which is a totally new opportunity for them, right? So that's a great aspect of the technology. So I think that they care about having the ability to invest and to protect their funds and get access to investment opportunities and to diversify. But then I think they also care about liquidity, and they like getting, I think, dividends paid out on a daily or monthly basis, which is something we can easily do in the tokenization space. And they like also to be able to more easily trade their tokens, right? So it's very easy to offer internal trading or redemptions or something like that, much easier than in the traditional ecosystem, right? So I think they value that also. I think we are looking into a world where assets are increasingly fractionalized and tradable. And I think that eventually in some years, maybe 10 or 15 years, if you want to have investors into your project, you need to make it, you need to fractionalize it and make it liquid to some degree, otherwise people will not invest. I think it'll become a requirement. It's a long-term prediction. It's the way the trend is going now, for sure. It's been going that way for many years, towards greater liquidity.
So who knows, Claus, in maybe 5 years, we'll see that what you're talking about was a prediction that did in fact, come in terms of investors and the trends we have. I think we'll move towards ending the call here, the lightning talk here now. We'll take a couple of minutes to just take a group selfie. So if everybody could turn their cameras on so that we we have everybody's faces for us to take a group selfie. Those of you guys who not yet, turn on the camera if you could do so. Awesome. So Varda, could you do the honors?
Okay, I think on 1, 2, 3, if we can. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We have it.
We have it. All right.
All right.
So we'll post it on LinkedIn as well. And Claus, thank you so much for the wonderful lightning talk and the Q&A. And thank you everybody else for taking out the time. We'll be back.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure.
Bye. Take care.